Vine's POV. I was taken aback by his unexpected confession. I can feel words becoming trapped in my mouth. Before I could say anything, someone grabbed my wrist and began dragging me. Though I couldn't see his face, but I could tell from his body that he is Jungkook. Jungkook shoved me into the passenger seat of his car before I could say anything. With his hand clasped around the steering wheel and his jaw clenched, Jungkook drives at an uncontrollably high speed. For the first time, I felt afraid of him when I noticed his dark aura. Wine, junk. He gave me a very intense stare that made me swallow what I was saying before I could finish. In an attempt to calm the strange, anxious atmosphere in the car, I cleared my throat. Wine, Jungkook, what made you drag me in this manner? I asked in a firm tone of voice, though I was nervous, but didn't let it show. He chuckled sarcastically. Jungkook inhales deeply before replying. Jungkook, as though you are unaware. And who was he? He asked me with a tone so cold that it sends shiver down my spine. Van, just a classmate. I fumble on words terribly. He gave me a mocking laugh. Jungkook, yeah, classmate, right? However, in my opinion, classmates don't make such proposal to one another. As he said this, he speeds up the vehicle. I let out a scream as I felt terror grip me while he drove speedily. Van, Jungkook, please slow down. I'm getting scared. He shifts his gaze to me, and I can see his eyes softening, taking in my conditions. He slows down the car, but still is driving at a speed he usually doesn't. Van, he is just a friend, Jungkook. I don't know why I want him to believe me. I can't see the hurt in his eyes. I want to see his playful self again, which is only around me, but he doesn't look back at me again. We reached my home. On the way back, he didn't speak a word with me. I tried to start a conversation with him, but he didn't respond. I stayed seated and kept staring at him, but he didn't even glance at me. Van, call me once you reach home. He didn't reply. I reluctantly opened the door and got down. As soon as I get down, he drives away without sparing me a glance. Jungkook's POV. Flashback. A satisfied smile played on my lips as I took in the preparation that I had completed. Only the flowers are remaining. I recall forcing my darling to go on a movie date, even though she didn't want to, but I know how to play my cards. I laugh as I think back of her annoyed face. In the movie, the male lead arranges a dinner date for the female lead on the beach, and Van was really impressed by the scene. She found it romantic, though I was really jealous at first. When she looked at the male lead with heart eyes, I was so ready to hunt that man down. But then I dropped those ideas and thought of creating a similar memory for my darling. My thoughts were interrupted by someone calling me. I turned around to see my best friend Jimin huffing out loudly. Jimin, why do you want only tulips? There are so many other flowers. You know how much I have to search for your tulips? He gives me an unimpressed look. I keep a hand on his shoulder. Jungkook, because brother, tulip best represents my emotions for her. Jimin, what do you mean? Jungkook, you would understand once you fall in love. Red tulips best represent how deeply I am in love with you, darling. I smile at the thought of my darling. Jimin, you mean that after falling in love like you, I would too start acting like a crazy person who is constantly grinning and laughing. He pointed up and down at me and said, no, thank you. I don't want to fall in love if the result is this. I rolled my eyes at him. Jungkook, okay, now help me arrange the flowers and heart balloons. Jimin, it's your date. Why should I do this work? Jungkook, because you are my best friend. He rolls his eyes and helps me with the preparation. Jungkook, it's looking perfect now. I grinned. Jimin, yeah, it's looking perfect because of me. Jungkook, yeah. Though I couldn't deny the fact that all of this was not possible without Jimin. I was now driving to Van's uni. I'm sure she would be so happy to see the surprise, though she won't admit it. I couldn't stop grinning the entire way to Van's uni. I arrived a little early, so I was waiting for Van, even though she had instructed me to arrive a little later. I couldn't help but be excited and arrived a little early. While waiting for her, I saw two figures going to the garden. But wait, the girl kinda looks like Vine. To confirm it, I followed them. And yes, I was right, it was Vine. Author's POV. His jaw clenched tightly, the muscles in his face hardening as his anger surged. His eyes, once warm, darkened with intensity as he watched the scene before him, a man kneeling before the woman he loved. Every word of the proposal felt like a stab to his chest, his fist curling in suppressed rage. With long steps, he crossed the distance between them. Without a word, he grabbed Van's wrist from Taeyong, who had been proposing to her. His grip was firm, but not harsh, as if he was both protective and commanding. In one swift motion, he dragged her with him and pushed her in the car. Jungkook's POV. I give her a mocking laugh when she says he's just a classmate because no classmate proposed a girl like that. All I could see is red. The beast in me is ready to erupt and claim her as mine, but I don't want her to be afraid of me. So I tightened my hands on the steering wheel and took a deep breath. The car sped through the streets, but when she screamed, I glanced over at Van. I saw fear in her eyes, her hands gripping the seat. My eyes softened at the sight. I slowed down the car, but still driving in a speed I usually don't when Van is sitting in the car with me. I couldn't ignore how scared she looked, and I didn't want to frighten her more. On the way to her house, she tried to start a conversation with me, but I didn't respond to her, as the scene is still fresh in my mind, and I could explode on her any moment, which I didn't want. As we reached her house, I could feel her eyes on me. If it was any other moment, I would have been overjoyed to have her attention, but not right now. As she steps down the car, I drive away without giving her a glance. I stood on the beach looking at the date setup I had worked so hard on. The candles were glowing and the flowers and lights made everything look beautiful. But inside, I was full of anger and hurt. Without thinking, I kicked over the table and the dishes smashed to the ground. The candle flew and the flowers were scattered everywhere. Everything I had made to be perfect was destroyed, and I didn't stop until nothing was left of the special setup I had created for her. Taking a deep breath, I grabbed my phone and called someone. Jungkook, hello, I want you to arrange something. After talking with the person, I ended the call. I have given you a lot of time, darling. Now I will show you whom you belong to. To be continued.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.